Brachos Daf Memhei begins the seventh parak of Masechta Brachos, called Shlosha Sha'achlu, which deals with the halachos of Brachos Hamazon, the three-part or four-part blessing after a bread meal. The Gemara will discuss much of the halachos, but will specifically focus on zimun. Zimun is a special bracha and formula that is said when a number of people eat together. If you have three people that eat together, then one of them invites the others to say the brachos along with him. If there are 10 people, then an extra word, Elokeinu, is also added. The parak opens by discussing the laws of zimun, this invitation that the greater member of the group invites the others to join him. The Mishnah, which opens the parak, discusses the zimun, how many people are required for the zimun, what they may have eaten in order to be required to say zimun, who can join in the zimun, how much they needed to eat to join the zimun. The Gemara will discuss the source of the mitzvah of zimun. Then the Gemara will discuss whether two people are allowed to make a zimun. If it's less than the required three, do they have the option to make the zimun? Then the Gemara will speak about whether two can force the third to join, or two can force the third to eat faster so that they can make the zimun and finish the meal. So let's see the Mishnah. The Mishnah begins by saying that zimun is a mitzvah on three people who ate together. Now, what did they eat? So the Mishnah says they have to have eaten something which was permitted to eat. If they ate iser, then they cannot say a bracha of zimun. But even if they ate things which appear to be questionable, as long as it's okay, they are allowed to say the zimun. Then the Mishnah gives examples. If they ate demai, which is okay. If they ate meiser rishon, that's the part of the produce which was taken off and given to the Levi, and the Levi took off the part that he has to give to the Kohen. If that was accomplished correctly, so then it's alright. If they ate Meiser Sheni or Hektish, which was redeemed from Hektish, Meiser Sheni has to be brought to Yerushalayim and eaten there, but one can redeem it, transfer that obligation onto money, and this Meiser Sheni fruit was redeemed already. The same thing is for Hektish, something which was given to the service of the Beis HaMikdash, but it was now redeemed back from the Beis HaMikdash. Or the waiter. The waiter ordinarily is not invited to join the meal, but if he is invited to join the meal, he can also join. A kusi is a person who is questionable whether or not he was Jewish. He was part of a group that converted because they were forced to by events they were experiencing. So all these things, the Mishnah rules, they are allowed to join the zimun. However, the following list may not. Somebody who ate tevel, that's produce that did not have the proper truma and meiser taken from it, or if he ate meiser rishon, which is the part that's given to the Levi, but the Levi didn't take off the part that he has to give, or if it is Meiser Sheni or Hektish, which was not properly redeemed from Hektish, or the waiter who ate, but he ate less than the required share of a concise, or a goy full-fledged. These people may not join the zimun. You cannot add them to the required minimum 3. Now the Mishnah says, if you had women, avadim, or children, they should not join the zimun, and the Gemara will later say they should make their own zimun. How much do you have to eat to be able to join the zimun? It's machlokes between the Tanakama, who says it's a kizayis, the size of an olive, and Rabbi Yehuda, who says that it has to be the size of an egg. Now the Gemara begins. The Gemara wants to know what is the source of this concept of zimun. The Gemara quotes two possible psukim, both of which seem to be describing one person, which the Gemara will assume is a leader, inviting the rest to join him. The first one is Gadlu Lashem Iti. One person is speaking and he's saying, you, plural, Gadlu, join me in raising up HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we shall exalt his name. So you see one person inviting two, so it's a minimum of 3. And Rabbi Avo says that the source is Kishem Hashem Ekra. Again, when I call out the name of Hashem, Havu, you, plural, should bring Godel Eloheinu, greatness to Hashem. So again, we have one person inviting plural. So the minimum that could be is 3. The Gemara now takes a slight detour to discuss other halachos that are learned out of the pasuk of Kishem Hashem Ekra Havu Godel Elokeinu. The Gemara says, Rav Chanan Bar Abba says, from here we learn that one who answers Amen should not speak louder than the one who said the bracha himself, because it says, you should raise your voice together with me, not greater than me. Similarly, the Gemara says, Rav Shimon ben Pazi said that a mitargim, the one who repeats the reading, should not say it louder than the reader himself. How do you know? Because it says as follows: Moshe Yidaber, Moshe spoke at Hasinei v'Halokim Ya'nenu B'Kol, and God responded with a voice. What is with a voice? Of course he responded with a voice. What else would he respond with? No, it means he responded with Moshe's voice, in the same tone, the same level of the one who was speaking before him. So you see that a responder or a metargem should not speak louder than the reader himself. Now, what if the metargem cannot reach the volume of the reader himself? Then the reader should lower his voice so that it sounds the same. The Gemara now quotes a machlokes between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan if two people together are allowed to say a zimun. Now the Gemara is going to ask a number of questions from sources which seem to indicate that it has to be three, or that it should be three, and the Gemara is going to answer them all by saying we're not asking about whether they're obligated, the two, we're asking about whether they are permitted. And permitted is different than obligated. So first the Gemara asks from our Mishnah clearly said that three people eat together are obligated. So the Gemara answers, yeah, three people are obligated. The question here is, are they permitted? Do they have the option of saying it or not? Next, the Gemara asks, we have a Mishnah which says that if three people ate it together, one of them is not allowed to leave early because then the other two will not be able to say the zimun. He's robbing them of their zimun opportunities. So the Gemara says, clearly you see two people can't say a zimun. The Gemara says, no, they could say it may be optional, but they want to say it in an obligatory fashion. Obligatory is a much better way to say it than in an optional fashion. So that's not a proof. It could be that they're still allowed to say it optional. Next, the Gemara says we have a Mishnah that says if two people are eating together, the waiter is allowed to eat with him without asking permission, because you could assume that they want him to eat with him in order that they should be able to say the zimun. But if three people are eating together, the waiter should not assume that they want him to eat because they can say a zimun without him. Mar says clearly again you see that two people cannot say a zimun without a third. Mar says again they cannot say it in an obligatory fashion. They can only say it in an optional fashion. But it could still be that they are allowed to say it in an optional fashion. The Gemara now attempts a different style proof. We see a brisa that says that women and avadim and children are not allowed to join the zimun even if they want to. They do not have the option. However, it does say that if they want to make their own zimun, they are allowed to. So the Gemara says that now we can compare women, avadim, and children to two men. Just like two men cannot join the zimun on their own, women and avadim and the children also cannot. Yet, they can optionally make their own zimun. So if women can optionally make their own zimun, so then two men should also be able to optionally make their own zimun. The Gemara says no, it's different. The reason why you need three men at least for the zimun is because you need a significant group to be able to say praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So women, although they may not have a greater level of chiyuv than two men, they do have greater numbers, and therefore the significant group is there. So they could say the zimun on their own, but two men would not be able to. The Gemara says if that's true, how come women and avadim cannot join the zimun altogether? The Gemara says the reason is because it is not considered to be tznius, it's not considered to be appropriate for women and men to be saying tefillos together. Okay, the Gemara gives up trying to figure out what the halacha is. Now the Gemara just wants to know which person said which. We had a machlokes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, but we didn't know which one said which. The Gemara wants to say, okay, maybe I could prove to you that Rav is the one who said that two men do have the option of making a zimun together, because we do have a statement of Rav Dimi bar Yosef in the name of Rav, who says that if three people are eating together and one of them gets up, so they should call him back in order to say the zimun. So you see that two people can't say the zimun; they have to call the third. Gemara again says that's not a proof. It could just be that they have a right to call him back so that they could say an obligatory zimun. An optional zimun is only two, maybe that they could say anyway. The Gemara says now, okay, I will bring you a proof that Rabbi Yochanan is the one who says that two people sitting together do not have the option of saying zimun, because we have a statement where Rabbi Bar Chana quotes Rabbi Yochanan, who says that two people are sitting together, one of them should say the bracha for the other. And the Gemara says, of course, we know that halacha. One person can say a bracha for someone else. What's the chiddush? Rabbi Zera says the chiddush is that it's not a zimun, because if it would be a zimun, each one answers. So the one who answers is saying his own bracha, is not being yaitzu with somebody else's bracha. Therefore, it's clear that Rabbi Yochanan is saying that if two people are sitting together, it's not a zimun. The Gemara accepts this as a proof. Rabbi Yochanan is the one who says two people sitting together do not have the option of saying zimun. And the Gemara asks, but how could this be? We know that Rabbi Yochanan lived in Eretz Yisrael, and Rav lived primarily in Bavel, and the Rabbanan who came from Eretz Yisrael said that they learned the halacha that if two people are sitting together, they could say a zimun. So they must have learned that from Rabbi Yochanan who lived there. And that means that Rabbi Yochanan is the one who says that two people sitting together could say a zimun. The Gemara says no, they really learned it from Rav. Rav used to live in Eretz Yisrael and he moved to Bavel at some point, and they learned that halacha from Rav when he lived in Eretz Yisrael. Now the Gemara refers back to something we said earlier. We said if three people are eating together and one of them leaves, he goes out, they should call to him. Call to him doesn't mean he has to come back. Call to him means they have to get his attention so that he could hear them, and then they can say the zimun and he can answer. So the Gemara points out that he has to respond. They have to make sure that he's within earshot. Now Abaye says that halacha. Mar Zutra says that this is only if he's the third person. Let's say there are 9 and he's the 10th, and they want him to answer so that they can say Elokeinu, then it doesn't work. He has to come back to join them. He can't answer through the window. So Rav Ashi says, why should that be? 9 people, 10 people is not that big of a difference. You see a group of 9, you don't say, oh, it's 9 and there's not 10. It's not significant. But 2 people is much more significant than 3. You can see the difference between 2 and 3 clearly. So it should be more of a problem to have one person further away. The Gemara says no. The reason why you need 3 is because you want to have a zimun. The reason why you need 10 is to say Shem Shemayim, to say the name of Hashem. In order to do that, you need a minyan. You can't do that without a minimum amount, and it's forbidden. So therefore, you have to have all 10 people present at the time. Now the Gemara finishes the discussion of 2 people who ate together. Abaye says 2 people who ate together, it's a mitzvah for them to bench separately. We want them each to say their own Brachos Mazon, not for one to be motzi the other one. And the Gemara says that's only if both of them are learned and they're able to bench for themselves. If one of them is unlearned, so then the one who is learned should say the bracha for the other one and he should listen. The Gemara now discusses what happens if 3 people are eating together and 1 or 2 of them would like to bench before the other ones are ready to finish their meal. So Rava says that I used to say the following thing, and then I heard that Reb Zera said it as well. If you have 2 people that are ready to bench and the third person is not, it is proper for him to finish up his meal or to answer the zimun together with them, because they are the majority, and he can continue eating after if he wants to. However, if only one person wants to bench, he cannot insist that the other 2 should bench along with him. And then we're asked, but we found that Rav Papa did do that, because that was Rav Papa was lifnim mishur, so then he went beyond the letter of the law. He was very respectful to the one person who wanted to bench, and therefore he and the other person who was with him finished up their meal faster than they had to. Now the Gemara quotes an incident, which brings us to the halacha of what happens when you have 3 people that are all equals. Should you have a zimun or not? The Gemara here is assuming that the pasuk which described zimun had one person which is greater than the other 2. Therefore he's leading the Brachos Hamazon. I think we're saying, what if they're all 3 the same? So let's see the incident over here. The Gemara says that you had Yehuda bar Mareimar, Mar bar Avashi, and Avacham Midifti. They were all sitting and eating bread together, and it came time to bench, and they realized that they're all equals, and none of them is greater than the other ones. So they said, that the Mishnah says that the one should bench for everybody else. That's if he's greater. So over here, we don't have somebody who's greater than anyone else. So therefore, they each benched separately to themselves. So then they went and they asked Marimar if they did the right thing. And he said to them, no, you did. You fulfilled the mitzvah of Brachos Hamazon, but you did not fulfill the mitzvah of Zimun. You did not do it correctly. Now, maybe you want to say, okay, we'll go back and we'll do Zimun now. It's too late. Got to do Zimun before a benching. You cannot do Zimun after. Now the Gemara wants to know, what should somebody do if he walks in and he finds that there's a zimun in progress? What should he answer? He cannot say she'achalnu mishalai. He can't say the words baruch she'achalnu mishalai, that we've eaten from him, because he hasn't eaten anything. So the Gemara brings 2 opinions that are not really arguing over here. The Gemara says that Rav Zvid said he should say baruch u'mevayrach, that he is blessed and blessed. And he should say blessed without saying anything about food. Rav Papa said he should just say amen. The Gemara explains it's not a machlokes. If he walks in when they're just beginning and he hears the leader say nevarich, let's bless, he should say baruch u'mevayrach. But if he heard them answer, if he walked in and he heard them say baruch she'achalnu mishalai, he should just say amen. Now the Gemara moves on to another discussion, and that is, should you say amen to your own bracha or not? So in other words, we have a contradiction between 2 brises. One says that anybody who answers amen to his own bracha is very highly praiseworthy. And there's another brisa that says that somebody who answers amen to his own bracha is reprehensible. Gemara says, which is it? Where it says as follows: most brachos you should not answer amen to. The end of a set of brachos, where your brachos are over, the last one that you answer amen to, and that indicates that it's the end, right? You answer amen to your own bracha, and that indicates that it's the end of the set. The Gemara now says that the end of Brachos Hamazon Doiraisa, the three brachas which are required by the Torah, is B'nai Yerushalayim. The bracha afterwards of HaTova Meitiv is only of rabbinical origin, or at least that's according to one opinion. It is a machlekes. So the Gemara says that it was a question how to deal with the bracha of B'nai Yerushalayim, which is the last one. Abaye used to answer Amen to his own bracha loudly, so that all the workers who would need to go back to work as soon as Brachos Hamazon was over should realize that it's over, and they should go back to work, and they would miss HaTova Meitiv, but that's fine, because it's only the Rabbanan. And Rav Ashi would say it quietly, because he didn't want people to mistreat the bracha of HaTova Meitiv and treat it cheaply. He didn't want to cheapen it. So he said Amen to his B'nai Yerushalayim, because it was the end of the Brachos D'Oraisa, but he didn't say it out loud so that HaTova Meitiv shouldn't be cheapened.